We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Thank you, Marisol. Hey, everyone. Man, it's good to be here. I was sitting listening to the music and connecting with all the faces, realizing that, well, I love us all. We're all friends, and we're all in this together. And so, welcome. And this is the point in this gathering where Marisol will play our welcoming song and we'll greet each other in the chat. Thank you. We are an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The core value chosen for today's gathering is number 3. We accept one true self, which is one presence or being, non-dual, without beginning or end, and absolutely changeless. We live this value by practicing letting go of the belief in the individual self as who we are. I am guided to read that again. And whether your videos are on or off, I wonder if you'll take these seconds to perhaps close your eyes and see if you can find deep within you the acceptance to this core value. Can you feel it? I can feel it. In my diet this morning, I stepped into what feels like a sonicator. It's very gentle, but there's a hum. There's an energetic vibration that it feels like I'm speaking with and through. And as I read this core value again, it's my heartfelt desire that you can feel that too. So here we go. We accept one true self, which is one presence or being, non-dual, without beginning or end, and absolutely changeless. We live this value by practicing letting go of the belief in the individual self as who we are. Announcements. So, my buddy Michael Singer says practice, keep practicing. And the 2 things to practice on is right weather and traffic. Those are the 2 things he brings up a lot. And so a number of us were at a board of trustees retreat in La Vida. It's extraordinary. And the Monday, the last day of the retreat, we were supposed to be out in doing something really fun with Regina and with all of us outside, and the weather didn't cooperate. So instead, we had a great meal, and then we watched this movie with Regina and with John Mark Stroud, and I could tell you that the experience was beyond extraordinary. So it's a great movie, but it was also a great practice in knowing that we're exactly where we're supposed to be, and everything is perfectly aligned to give us what we need in this moment on the journey. So even if you can't come tonight, I can't recommend the movie highly enough. And if you watch the movie, I suggest finding something other than Amazon Prime, because Amazon Prime cut off the credits, and there's a great final scene that sort of changes the movie. So there's that. This is where I am supposed to just hand the mic over to Marisol to play the opening song, but I want to say a few things first. the gathering snuck up on me. Usually I know weeks and weeks ahead, and I know what I'm going to say and I know what I'm going to do. Um, but I was in Colorado, I was in Jersey before that. I spent a week or so not feeling well. And then it was last weekend, and it hit me that I was speaking today. And I sat and I started looking at my bookcases. I tend to, well, I knew the reader already. The reader came first. Thank you very much, Olivia Shepherd. She's here somewhere. And then I just thought I was going to pull my Muji book, only I couldn't find it. And instead, I had no choice but to pick up a Joel Goldsmith book of essays. And as soon as I had it in my hand, I knew that the teaching was going to be based on the 23rd Psalm. And it was really pretty funny. There's a group of us that get together every Thursday night in the sanctuary at 6 p.m. Eastern. You're welcome. And we listen to Joel. We have a few minutes of silence. We listen to a recording from the 1950s and early 60s, and then we talk about it. And I was away for 2 of those Thursdays in Colorado and in New Jersey. And those are the 2 weeks that this group just fell in love with the 23rd Psalm. I was not at all interested in it. I didn't feel any pull to go back and listen to the recordings until this morning. But I knew that we were going to enter the silence through the 23rd Psalm. It just dropped. And so all 3 of the songs chosen um, are songs that were written um, through this prayer. It's the most stunning prayer. I have it memorized now. It's on my heart on the last couple of days. Like when something calls to you, it calls to you. So, and I got chills. This first song is called Still Waters, and Marisol, it's all yours. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The house of the Lord is God consciousness. And I'll tell you again that I am speaking right now through an experience of feeling like I am encased in a vibrational hum. And my heart is cracked open and there are tears in my eyes. And the invocation, the prayer, the deepest longing of my heart for this gathering is that you feel this that holds us all. Our individuated expressions are all held in what I am feeling as a real sense right now that is holding us all, guiding us all, leading us besides the still waters. And with that, I'm just so grateful for Livy and this reading. It's called Entering the Silence. It comes from the collective essays of Joel S. Goldsmith. And it is his words relative to Psalm 23. Livy, the mic is yours.
Good morning. I'm really honored to be here this morning and to share this reading with y'all. Thank you so much, Cyndi. Enter the silence. Silence is power. Silence is the healing activity in individual consciousness. Silence is the creative principle of all existence. In the silence, you become receptive to the inner voice, the voice of the inner self. And as truth expresses itself in your listening ear, you become aware of the healing influence, with signs following. Your receptivity to the kingdom of God, God consciousness, God awareness, God knowing, constitutes a healing atmosphere. Heretofore, the work of the student has been to bring about harmony in his experience through the statement of affirmation of truth, or reading or quoting truth. Now he rises higher in consciousness to where he constantly and consciously listens for truth to utter itself within him. He learns the true nature of silence, of stillness and quietness. It is easy to understand why the sages of old taught, "Be still and know that I am God." That this stillness declares the presence of God, closer than breathing, nearer than hands and feet. It reveals that neither man nor circumstances nor conditions can be power over your affairs, since that which declared itself to be I within you is God, is power, is presence. Also, you know why you can never be God, but that God is inseparable from your very being. All this reveals itself to you in the silence. Always remember that it is not the thoughts you think, nor the truths you read, but rather that which has revealed itself in quietness and confidence is God, the restorer of harmony in your existence. It is not the thoughts you think, but the thoughts which unfold to you within your own being. These constitute your guidance and inner wisdom. It is not so much the thoughts of truth you declare as the consciousness of truth you develop through your inner receptivity that brings God government into your body and outer affairs. The activity of truth in your consciousness is the light which dispels the darkness of human sense. It is not what you think about truth, but what truth knows and declares to you. Not what you affirm to divine mind, but what it reveals to you. This is the silence. This is power. In quietness and confidence, in stillness and silence, love reveals its comforting presence and assures us that underneath are the everlasting arms, upholding and supporting us, even in trial and tribulation. The heading over the 23rd Psalm is David's confidence in God's grace. Can you not feel this calm confidence as you read, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want"? Here there is no petition, no supplication, and above all, no doubt or fear. Since the Lord is his shepherd, how can he want? He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. The peace that passeth understanding unfolds me as I realize I cannot escape from my good. since he not only provides me with green pastures, but he maketh me to lie down in them. He not only gives me still waters, but he leadeth me beside the still, calm waters of peace. He restoreth my soul. Even though it has been scarlet with sin or unrestful in sickness, yet he restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And though I still be tempted with desire, yet for his name's sake, he leadeth me out of sin into righteousness, out of disease into rightness of health. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. David's confidence in God's grace is still felt, even in the valley of the shadow of death, since even here David feels no fear, for thou art with me. And O God, that I too may be still and know no fear, since even in the valley of the shadow of death, thou art with me. You can only experience fear if you believe that in the midst of your discords and inharmonies, God has deserted you. Never in scarlet sin nor dangerous disease will you fear once you attain David's confidence that even in the valley of the shadow of death, thou art with me. Let the beloved silence descend upon you too, as you realize with all your being that thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. God's grace always manifests in the human form of rod, staff, food, or water. This grace appearing as my good comforts me. This assurance of the presence of that which fulfills, protects, sustains, this comforts me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Where lack and limitation threaten, God's grace prevails. My soul is filled with inspiration and my heart overflows with joy and gratitude. This evidence of abundance through grace fills me, satisfies me, and my heart sings for joy in his presence. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. How confident, how positive is David as he sings, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me. And how secure he feels in the timelessness of God's grace as he declares that this goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Blessed assurance of omnipresence, all the days of my life. And of course, I will dwell in this consciousness of God forever. Yes, God consciousness shall be my home forever. As a weary wanderer, I have sought thee, and now my weariness is gone. Thy spirit has formed a tent for me, and in its cool shade I linger. Peace fills my soul. Thy presence has filled me with peace. Thy love has placed before me a feast of spirit. Yes, thy spirit is my resting place, an oasis in the desert of the letter of truth. In thee will I hide from the noise of the world of argument. In thy consciousness find surcease from the noisomeness of men's tongues. They divide thy garment, O Lord of peace. They quarrel over thy word until it becomes words and no longer word. As a beggar have I sought the new heaven and the new earth, and thou hast made heir of all. How shall I stand before thee but in silence? How shall I honor thee but in the meditation of my heart? Praise and thanksgiving thou sleekest not, but the understanding heart thou receives. I will keep silent before thee. My soul and my spirit and my silence shall be thy dwelling place. Thy spirit shall fill my meditation, and it shall make me and preserve me whole. O tender one and true, I am home in thee.
It's not good to be speechless when you're leading the gathering, but I feel to just pause for a moment. That was stunning, Libby. Thank you. And Marisol put a link in the chat. I went in and typed up the reading from the book, and if you'd like to work with it, be with it, you can access it through that link. So first thing I'm inspired to suggest is that if you're listening to me, go ahead and take a moment and allow your story du jour to come to consciousness, something that seems to indicate that there's a reason to fear, or that you are unworthy, or that life has hit you a curveball. It really doesn't matter if it's large or small, anything that appears to be affecting your peace. Just let it rise to the surface. We're not going to really do anything with it. And I don't know if you noticed, but my eyes are pulsing and my body's shaking a little bit. The hum is still here, and there's this feeling. It came up this morning. The best way to describe the experience is it's as if Cindy's body has been submerged in a very gentle, beautiful sonicator. So, yeah, so that's what's happening here. So allow that story to come up. I have one. Something that is occurring in the Cindy storyline right now. And when I heard about it yesterday, it just created an explosion of pain within the heart. And I said, thank you when that occurred, but more about that in a minute. The second thing, now that I'm assuming anyone who wants to play this game with us has let something come up, and it doesn't, whatever might or appears to cause you pain or a disturbance of any kind. The second question is, has there ever been a time in your life, and for me, I could write a book on them, where you had a problem, some sort of crisis, and then it just sort of took care of itself? I don't know how to put it any other way, but today, this problem is coloring the screen of my awareness. And a week later, you don't even remember that it occurred, right? Just go ahead and allow, you don't have to work for them. I don't know anyone really who hasn't had these experiences. And again, little or big. And I'm not asking you to use your intellect or your memory to start telling stories and whatever, just moments in your life where today this is the crisis. And then within an hour or a week or whatever, you look back and go, I don't know how that resolved itself. So that's just allow that to come up. In case anyone is not believing in this consciousness or this flow or this spaciousness that is currently enclosing Cindy's body like a sonicator. Um, just allow yourself to perhaps accept the possibility or sink into the knowing that there is a benevolent intelligence, God consciousness, the Tao, the Supreme Brahman, that is always here and somehow is taking care of things, no matter how they seem in the moment. Yeah. The next question. You know, all those times, or at least in my experience, and they don't actually happen for very long anymore. And I'm grateful, and it's beautiful. And I've been taught that that um, we get to celebrate our advances, but the ego storms. We could look and say they're not as bad as they were 10 years ago or 5 years ago, but they still occur. These moments in time where the fear erupts and somehow it activates the part of our intellect that seems to believe that there's a problem here that I got to solve separate from God. Just allow those memories to come up. Maybe you're in one now. And then the question becomes, has it ever worked? Ever once? Has that fear-based ruminating mind ever solved the problem in your experience? If you really look at it, you may come to the conclusion that life is simply happening. There's a rise and a fall, and things are occurring, right? And the fear was never useful. And the thinking mind, the ruminating mind, the problem-solving mind that is trying to resolve the fear has never really done anything but feed that sense of a problem to solve. But really sink in, honestly, from this space, in this energy, in this container we're in. Be really, really honest. I'm not going to ask anybody to share. That's not what we're doing here. You can later if you want. But really, has it ever helped? The teaching of the 23rd Psalm and almost everything that lights me up anyway, lets me know that God speaks. And again, like I'm using the word God. I like the word God. Replace it with consciousness, Supreme Brahman, the Tao. I don't care. For me, God lights me up, makes me feel warm and comfortable, and it's just a word, right? So I pray that my use of the word God does not limit this teaching for you, but go ahead and use your mind to replace that word if for some reason it does. All the teachers and teachings that light this one up remind me that guidance is always available, always, that I am always fine, that we're always okay. And if we're not hearing guidance, it's because we haven't entered the silence. What does that mean? It means that fear-based ruminating mind has colored the screen of our awareness. I want to tell you that it's not that mind's job to quiet it down or stop it. So don't, watch if your ruminating fear-based mind is now going, oh, I failed at this too, because it's not its job, right? That ruminating fear-based thing, it's actually just a hamster wheel, and our attention keeps it spinning. We pull our attention away from it, and it slows down, and it'll eventually stop. That being said, and it's interesting because these questions were written right before while I was listening to the songs Marisol was playing. I'm a beautiful student at Awakening Together and a student. I've listened as best as I can to absorb Regina's teachings. Yeah, one of the things she taught me um, as I got ready to become an Awakening Together minister and facilitate retreats and classes. And we talked about it at the Board of Trustees retreat recently. The greatest prep for the gathering is to stay consistent in my own work and to allow something higher to speak. And so I came into this gathering fully prepared relative to the structure of the gathering, fully prepared in that I sat with the prayer and the teachings and the asking and the quiet for the last week, because that's when I remembered I was doing the gathering. But what I was actually going to say when it came to the inspirational teaching portion of our show was up to spirit, up to what was here. And so in the moments when I was listening to the beautiful music that Marisol was playing for us, I found myself picking up a pen and writing these questions down. I really liked them. So the next question that came on the sheet, when that part of the intellect is ruminating on a problem, either trying to solve it or saying some version of, why is this happening to me again? Or man, this hurts. I get that one. This really, really hurts. And sometimes it hurts so badly here, I don't think I can sit in it, but you know what? I always can. You always can too. Um, it used to be when I'd have that ego storm ruminating and the pain exploding in my heart, the thought that would come up for me was, I don't want to live anymore because the pain was so intense. And that it's not a suicidal thought. It's just like, I can't survive this kind of thought. But you know what I always have? Um, the question that I wrote down right before this gathering started is when you're in that, whether it's huge, and I got to tell you, if you're here, it's probably not as huge as it used to be because it used to be all encompassing. I used to believe it was true to the point where I wouldn't have known to be pulled into a gathering like this. So there's part of us that is not in it, even if you're in a story right now. But there's a thought that pops up in that space that I want to highlight for you. And that thought is, it won't stop, or I can't make it stop, or I am a victim of this, that, or, no matter what I do, it won't fix it. And I just wanted to point that thought out, A, and B, has your thinking mind ever lied to you, by the way? Has it ever lied to you? Because I've been catching that intellect lying to me all the time. The more the quieter I become more and more capable of witnessing that intellect, which is extraordinary because I know I used to think it was me. I used to think that ruminating mind was me. I used to think the problem solver was me. I used to think the pain defined me. I don't anymore. And that's not a statement saying, look at what I can do. No, that's just the truth. Showing up every day, practicing every day, doing the best I can every day, being as honest with whatever's going on in the moment as best as I can, as often as I remember. Another teaching I learned from Regina: practice when you remember, do the best you can, and your best gets better. The ability to watch that part of us that we used to think was us just happens for all of us when we say yes to the intention, to give it attention, to do the best we can, and to practice whenever we are inspired to practice. It just occurs. So I used to think that was all me. So from this space of being able to witness all of that, I have been blessed over and over again with like blatant examples of how that mind lies. Literally, it'll tell me it's raining when it's sunny outside. And I won't go out because if I believe it, a lot of people have heard my favorite example. The first time I caught the mind doing that, I was walking the puppy Harry, who's not a puppy anymore, not my dog, but it was Harry's first example. It was his first experience with falling leaves. Have you ever seen a puppy jumping, thinking that these falling leaves were balls? I don't know if anyone lives in New England or where the leaves like fall. And he was nothing but joy. And I was in that moment of being in joy with him. Nothing else mattered. And then I watched that part of the mind say, I am so sad, just like that. And then I watched, like, I often call it like squid ink. The feeling of sadness started to overtake my experience. I watched it like in slow motion. And then there was a timeout. Is it true I'm so sad? Nope. And then it rewinded up and I was back playing with falling leaves with Harry. It was an extraordinary experience. The thinking mind lies. That part of the mind is just doesn't tell the truth, right? Even about me and my experience. So having proven to myself that that part of the mind lies, when I'm in some version of fear-based, gotta solve this problem, blah, 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 gotta do it, I'm all on my own, I'll never get better, whatever it's saying to you, the question's been arising more and more, why am I believing it? It's not true. How do I know it's not true? Let's go back to question number one. How often has your life been, quote unquote, in crisis, in one of those experiences that that part of the mind says will never get better? And then all of a sudden you turn around and it's gone. It's better. There's a benevolent, energetic space that we're all in. My intention for some reason is on Richard. Richard has been coming and hanging with Joel. So I know like there's this space. Joel Goldsmith, his basic teaching is that there's only one power. There's only one power. And the opponent, this feeling that there's something to be afraid of, happens in the mesmerism. And that ruminating mind can be very hypnotic. And you believe it a little bit, it feeds it, and then you believe it more and more, and all of a sudden, for a little while anyway, it colors the screen of experience. That being said, to go back to these questions again, at least early on in my experience, I didn't have this experience. So the pain would be explosive. It could last forever. The mind would ruminate. I'd lose a lot of sleep. The problem got solved anyway, but not by the fear, right? That was question number two that showed up right before this gathering. Not by the fear. The fear colored the journey. The fear and the ruminating mind is part of the mesmerism. To pull into some aspect that I don't understand. I don't even want to understand it. I figure when I get to the other side fully, like when I'm in this space, that this hum that's with me right now represents, there'll be a knowing. I don't need to understand it now. I don't even need to tell a story about it now. Just accept that ruminating mind does nothing but color the screen and put a little damper on Cyndi's ability to enjoy the moment. There was, for a moment or two, I thought I was going to tell the current story to Jor, but it didn't feel like I needed to. We all have them, right? And one of the things that I've noticed, I don't know about you, I have noticed that there's a real value in telling our stories and being with our stories, but they're a little bit isolating. There's a part of the mind that says, yeah, that's not happening to me. And if you knew my story, DeJor, you'd understand why I'm suffering. So, but instead, it wasn't in the reading, but Joel talks about, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. The valley of the shadow of death represents any of this constriction or confliction, right? It's lack. It's fear about our health. It's fear about our relationships. It's fear about our children, which is still my, right, Sammy? We could be fabulous with everything else, but go ahead and let one of our Sarahs have a bad day, and all of a sudden God is not on the scene. It's funny, right? But um, the story Joel tells, there's Joseph, and Joseph was the favored son of his father. And Joseph had a lot of older brothers who were very jealous, and they threw him down a pit. Joseph was thrown down a pit and sold into slavery. Joseph, having Joseph's favorite son of God, and very intelligent and very schooled, and he worked himself up to top slave in Egypt. And he was content. Then he was thrown in jail, back in the pit, for years. For years. Joseph stayed with God. I mean, I'm not a Bible scholar, but then Joseph was taken out of the pit. The Pharaoh heard that Joseph had dreams and could help and had an intelligence. And Joseph was put in charge of keeping Egypt safe. And Joseph did a very good job. And he kept the Egyptians fed. And he raised to the top echelon. He goes from being a favored son out in the desert to slave, to top slave, to prisoner, to now this man who saves all of Egypt. Essentially, he saved all of Egypt. And his brothers are starving, and they come to him, and they attempt to apologize for what they've done. And Joseph feeds them, and he says to them, if it was not for what you had done, Egypt would be starving. There is my sisters and I are studying Kabbalah, and that's a whole nother story, but it's been a lot of fun. Found a teacher who talks in a way is really easy to listen to. And he teaches this in a way that's really useful for me and useful for us. And I'm going to teach it in my way right now. So there's only one power, right, Richard? There's like, you're right in the center of my screen, by the way. But there's only one power. And yet the world hits our stuff and there's all this pain. And what this David Gian, the Kabbalah teacher, states is that's our tikkun. So before we come into this particular experience, we understand that there is, and I have a lot of different names and I've studied a lot over the years, but there is this collection of density, areas that are lower density, that contain, well, now I'm going to go to the guides, who I also love, a denial of the divine. Like there's aspects of just the human consciousness that by design denies everything we're talking about. And so this teaching states that this lifetime has been specifically scripted to give us an opportunity to bring to light all those areas in this ball of soul, if you want to look at it that way, that have denied the divine. And as soon as they come up into our awareness and we feel the pain of them, we're in this choice mode. We can either react as if it's real and pull from this reflective world and try to just feel better, or we can say thank you. This is another place where this particular soul that has been dropped into the Cyndi experience holds an aspect of self that denies the one power. That's it. That's all that's going on. Everything that hits my stuff is doing it as a gift. It's a gift to let me know where in this experience there is some shadow, a denial of the divine, something that says God isn't real, or the benevolence or that energy that is obviously real. How do I know? Let's talk about the manna from heaven, right? Food drops. Our problems get solved. New problems, as long as we believe in the world, new problems keep dropping, but they're not dropping because we're being punished. They're opportunities to light up where in me I don't trust God. I've denied the divine. I've said I am somehow isolated from all that is, which is impossible. And so I can, in the pain, choose to rest and dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Choose to trust that though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Yeah. It's in the moments of pain that I get to practice. And the way David teaches it, which I love, because then he goes into quantum physics, there's an infinite number of worlds Cyndi gets to walk, like thousands of movies. You can't change the script in a movie, but you can jump to another movie, which is very cool. And every moment that I stop and say, I trust you, God. I'm going to rest and allow this pain to burn itself out. I got Michael Singer again telling me to just not touch it and trust and rest in God's embrace. Then I jump to a higher version of me and I'm walking in a different movie and then a different movie. And so the pain, whatever it is, the storyline, whatever it is, you flip it on its head. It's not a problem to solve. It's an opportunity to know God. With that, let's play song number 2, Goodness and Mercy. Thank you, nurse. And while that's happening, we are a church. And so if you sink into your heart, you are inspired to donate. Marisol's going to drop a link, and you could also use that little barcode that shows up on your screen in one of the squares. That's all in the chat. All yours, Marisol. Thank you, Marisol. And I apologize. It was the third song called Goodness and Mercy. This one was just called Psalm 23. We have a few minutes if anyone would like to say anything while the recording is still on. Just so grateful for your presence. Please, Laura.
Thank you, Cyndi. That was amazing. I set an intention this year to really hear the voice for God, and it comes in many ways, but like the voice, and it's different from mine, and it says what to do. And this morning that happened again, and it spoke of the living water. And I just want to thank you. Tonight, we're going to look at the living water in resting in our immaculate nature. Thank you.
Thank you. There's nothing else. There is one more song based on Psalm 23 we could play. Thank you, everyone. I surrender the mic.
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.